Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. It's time to connect with Austin Price of VolQuest.com. He joins us via the Iris Networks hotline. His time is brought to you by Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty. AP, good morning, sir.
What's up, Jason Swain?
What's up, man? Sir?
What'd you say?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, Joe Milton, that news dropped. Good job by you.
Thanks, buddy.
No announcement from him. Seems to me like just trying to ease him on in as a student, not make a big deal about it. Try to get past spring football practice without creating much of a stink, much attention that way. Why do you think that was the intention from Tennessee?
Well, I think Tennessee wanted to get through spring practice, so the focus was solely on spring practice. I think this was all going to, come out, be announced by the kid, whatever, probably in the next couple of weeks. And, I think more than anything, Tennessee's just trying to get through spring where it's solely focused on spring and the kids that are here and going through practice, much like the staff didn't really want to talk about Henry or anybody or Quavaris Crouch or any of those guys that weren't here, that were technically kind of still part of the football program. I think they know they can't talk about Joe Milton. He's not signed a financial aid agreement. He's not here yet for school-wise, so they can't talk about Joe. And so, that's the thing is like, I don't think anybody wanted the spring game or the end of spring practice overshadowed. But, when you go into the student directory, kind of is what it is.
What is Tennessee getting at Joe Milton? How did Tennessee land Joe Milton? I'm pretty sure Tennessee staff was looking at him for a very, very long time.
Yeah, they have been. Joe Milton's got a big arm. He's got experience. Is he going to be the quarterback? I don't know. I think ultimately, he's got to go win it. But I don't think he's coming here, and I don't think the staff's bringing him here to be they need more. They need they feel good about their starter, but they don't feel good about after that. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that Tennessee, when they look at their quarterback room, they don't know for sure that they have their guy. So why not bring in another quality body, another quarterback with experience, and again, let the chips fall where they may. Joe Milton may be the quarterback. He may not. It may be one of the three guys that were already here. I don't think it'll be Caden Salter. I just think it's going to be too much on a true freshman. But we've seen a little bit of everything over the years, Jason. So you can't really rule out anything at this point. I do believe somebody's going to leave after spring. It's inevitable. That's a room that Brian Mauer's kind of hung in there. But does he really see a path to the field? Harrison Bailey. Everybody questions whether he fits the offense that Josh Heupel wants to run. Hendon Hooker's kind of stuck. If he leaves, he's going to go down. But he's got 2 years of eligibility left. Joe Milton has 3. So, Tennessee's sitting in a spot where they've got bodies. Can they find somebody that can turn this program around? Because it all starts and ends with quarterback. That's the end-all, be-all. When you've got a good trigger man, you can have a fairly successful football program. Look at Tennessee the last 15 years. Go back to 2005. What happened? You had a divide on the team, bad quarterback play. You went 5-6. Ainge kind of gets Ainge right. In 2006, 2007, a lot more success. 2008, Crompton's a train wreck. Bad. Phillip gets fired. 2009, Lane comes in, gets pretty solid play out of Jonathan Crompton. Tennessee wins 7 football games. You see the correlation there between when you have good quarterback play and when you don't. Josh Dobbs and then into the last 4 years of quarterback play. So, this isn't football isn't played the way it was played 25 years ago, where like if you can run it and you can play defense, you will be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have a playmaker at the quarterback position, and Tennessee's got to do whatever it takes to get that position fixed. If it take multiple guys, whatever. You've got to get that position fixed at all costs.
Austin, you answered a little bit of what I was going to ask, and that was what you think the addition of Joe Milton means for the other quarterbacks in the room. So I'll ask you where you think the pecking order at the position is right now as spring concludes with the spring game on Saturday, and where would you slide in Joe Milton into that pecking order?
Well, I mean, he's never practiced, so it's hard to slide him in anywhere. Leaving spring, and I mean, I think we're kind of at this point we're exiting spring, even though there's a few practices left. I say Hendon Hooker and Harrison Bailey would be my top two quarterbacks. Brian Maurer, again, flashes so much that I think a lot of times you're like, man, why can he not play that way all the time? Like, he'll make a play or two and just leave you with your jaw on the ground. He did that with the last staff in 11-11 and 7-on-7. Whatever the periods they were focusing on, he would have these moments where you're like, wow. And then he would line the running back up on the wrong side of him. He would not slide the protection. Little things like that. Hold on to the ball too long. Make poor decisions. And then for that one step forward he'd take 2 steps back. He's doing similar things with this staff. Like, he is uber talented. But, can the staff count on him to not make those critical errors on Saturday afternoon in Athens, Georgia, or Saturday afternoon in Columbia, South Carolina? That's those type of things that the staff's got to figure out. Because, I mean, he does have these moments where you go, wow. I mean, look at the open practice, man. You were there. He'll look like $1 million one minute and then throws 2 terrible interceptions the next. And so, Harrison Bailey, he's kind of the guy that, like, does nothing great, but he does kind of everything well. I mean, like, he moves a little faster than you think. He throws a really catchable ball. He gets the ball out on time most of the time. But again, he doesn't flash like the other guys do. And then, Steady Eddie through spring practice has been Hendon Hooker. But can he consistently, throw it enough, to make you feel good about your vertical passing game? He can throw it vertically. Okay. He's made plays in spring practice vertically, but can he consistently do that? I think that's something he's got to, kind of continue to prove he can do. So I don't know. I know that's kind of dancing around the question, but I'm just kind of breaking down each guy. The top two for me exiting spring again would be Bailey and Hooker, and with Maurer behind them. And then again, Milton's not practiced, so it's hard for me to kind of like, insert him into the competition until he actually goes through a practice.
Do you think with the addition of Milton that's going to affect Tennessee as far as recruiting a future quarterback? No,
I don't. They're going to continue to recruit Taven Jackson. They are in a good spot for Taven Jackson. I wouldn't. I mean, they are in as good a position as they can be in. You call that the quote leader for now, if you want to. But that thing's a long way from being over. He's going to take visits, and Tennessee will have to do a good job in the month of June, not with just him, but just a lot of different players. And, Tennessee plans on taking a quarterback in this class because you have to. You have to take a quarterback in every class. That's like, you just can't get caught sleeping and feeling like, okay, hey, we're good at the quarterback position. Because with the one-time transfer and the transfer portal, things can change in a hurry. Look at UT basketball. They are they truly are the benchmark for the new college athletics.
Austin, the Wade twins ended up picking Kentucky on Friday. Just kind of what went wrong there for Tennessee, and do you think that there's a chance that maybe Vol fans can look forward to signing day with those two?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Tennessee, you just continue to recruit both, and you go out and see what happens on the field this fall. You know, I mean, so much of Tennessee's recruiting right now, Ben, is based off the fact that kids are wanting to come to a decision when Tennessee really needs to be able to have them hold off so they can kind of show them what they got. You know, so it's kind of a lose, you know, no-win situation for Tennessee as far as recruiting. You know, these kids are wanting to take visits come June. Tennessee probably really don't want them to take visits come June, but they're kind of forced into having to host visits in June because, you know, you've got so many kids that haven't been able to take a visit for over a year, so they're anxious to do so. It's going to be the trendy thing to do, especially in this current group of kids. So with the Wade twins, yeah, you just continue to recruit them, you see what you can show on the field this fall, and you maybe flip them in the end. But the biggest thing I think that went wrong was just, you know, Kentucky made Destin feel like he was their guy at quarterback. Destin knew Tennessee was recruiting Taven Jackson and really questioned, I think, whether Tennessee was going to give him an actual shot at quarterback. I think Tennessee would have given him a shot, much like Tennessee gave Jimmy Holiday a shot. And then after 2 practices last year before COVID hit, he realized he was a receiver, just like they gave Jawan Jennings a shot, who went through spring practice, you know, when he was a midterm enrollee, and then he moved to receiver. You know, Destin is like all those guys. He's got to go prove he can play the position. And if you don't, then he'll just be like those guys, and he'll move and play big tight, a tight end or big receiver or move to defense. I mean, the one positive for Destin is he's got, you know, possibilities if things don't work out at quarterback.
Austin Price, VolQuest.com here. Swain event fueled by Daddy and Barbecue. Austin's time is brought to you by Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty. Any other insight about Joe Milton's time at Michigan? I know you mentioned that he had a big arm. We talked about his arm from folks that you talked to. Why wasn't Joe Milton more successful in Michigan for those that simply look at the stats or those that, you know, see a quarterback that's transferring? I mean, people are transferring for a reason. Why is he transferring, and what happened at Michigan, if you know?
Well, I think he kind of lost some confidence. You know, Jim Harbaugh is a very demanding coach to play for. Expects a certain way of playing, and you know, I think that, you know, in talking to a couple of people, Milton just lost his confidence. Some people might say that, you know, he struggled mentally. You know, I've heard that. I wasn't there. I don't know. I know, talking to people, they had kind of different versions, that Harbaugh is so demanding that, you know, Milton just, you know, kind of got down on himself and started to struggle. You know, he showed flashes, that's for sure. But yeah, he's got to be more consistent. You know, for Josh Heupel and company, and you never know what a change of scenery will do for a kid. You know, I mean, you know, I'm really going to be fascinated to see what Jerry Guarantano does at Washington State. And that's not, I mean, I get it. Washington State's playing in the Pac-12. Defense isn't at a premium out there, you know, but like what, you know, does a change of scenery do him good? Yeah. You know, does a change of scenery do Joe Milton good, or any of the other, you know, kids that have transferred all over college football? So you're right. You know, when you leave, there is a reason you left. 80 to 90% of them are leaving because they couldn't get on the field at the previous stop. Some of that is because they play a position where you can only play one. You know, I'm more okay taking a chance on a quarterback than I am taking a chance on a linebacker or a receiver that could not get on the field, because there are 3 linebackers, or, you know, at least multiple linebackers, depending on what kind of defense you're in. There are, in today's college football, there are 3 and 4 receivers on the field at all times. If you can't get on the field, then something's amiss, you know. So, you know, I think with quarterbacks, if you're not going to be the guy, the thing to do is move, which is why I said Tennessee's quarterback room will see attrition. It just is what it is. nobody's going to sit in there and go, yeah, I'll just ride the pine. It's not the way kids work. It's the way kids worked 30 years ago when they didn't even want to transfer and sit out a year, much less now where you can just kind of free agency and go school to school.
Austin, the spring game is this Saturday. What are you most looking forward to seeing?
The end.
Hey, man. Hey, I am with you there.
Well, look, we got sound effects. I just think spring. We had this discussion on our podcast that's up at VolQuest right now. Hubs thinks that the spring game's eventually going away. I don't think it's going away because I think one, it's a revenue maker for colleges. I mean, think about it. I mean, it's the Chevrolet orange and white game. So I mean, like you miss out on that marketing. I don't think it's going away because it's just a good fan event. But I do think you can see some changes to it. I mean, the Big Ten's doing some spring games. Like Illinois had their spring game last night on a Monday night. I think Tennessee would be West Suburb if they had a spring game on a Thursday or Friday night. Now maybe some fans might not make it because it's not the weekend, but at the same time, I think would at least put more eyeballs on you because people are looking for stuff to do throughout the week. And the weekend is the weekend. And so I think you're going to gradually see changes. I don't think they're necessarily going away. And it's a good chance for potential recruits to come in town. Tennessee will have a few kids here this weekend. Of course, they can't talk to them because it's the dead period, but kids can still come since the game's free. Biggest thing I'm looking for is not the quarterback. To me, it's the offensive line. What does that group look like? When I look at, Dane Davis, what's Tennessee getting there? They're going to continue to push him to see what they have. Darnell Wright at right tackle. You know what you got in Cade Mays? I don't think Cade Mays will play Saturday. Cade's going to be the Swiss Army knife of this offensive line. He may start 3 or 4 different positions in the offensive line this fall, depending on who's injured and, best lineups and this and that. And then what do they look like guard to guard? Because, Spraggins, Cooper Mays, and Jerome Carvin, I think are a really solid unit. And then you've seen some growth out of guys like Jackson Lampley. You'll eventually get Riley Locklear back in the fall. I do think that the offensive line is something that I'll be watching for on Saturday.
Austin Price, last question here before we get you out of here, man. Thanks so much for your time on the program. Again, his time is brought to you by Jennifer Moore's Keller Williams Realty Group. Tennessee had a close scrimmage on Saturday.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there, man. I got a chance to see.
What happened? Tell us the details.
Well, there was a one-handed catch by Kobe. I saw the offense
come and a bunch of 3 and out.
Well, I saw the times I was there, I saw the offense, driving right down the football field against the defense. Jacob Warren touchdown, catch from Hooker. I did see the Harrison Bailey throw to the corner, which is a beautiful throw to Kobe. I saw the offense really, at the beginning of the scrimmage. The tempo was bothering the defense, but then the defense settled down and had a better showing after the initial surge from the offense at the beginning of the scrimmage. But just kind of picking your brain on who you might have heard maybe stood out from this scrimmage.
Well, Anderson Kobe is a guy that continues to flash. The last staff that may be their last contribution to the program was kind of taking a chance on a kid that I think may actually really help this team. Defensively, continue to hear good things as far as growth. Early in spring ball, they were a struggle bus, but they've continued to get better and better. And so it's all about, just finding that, kind of niche as a unit. To me, that's going to be Tennessee's, determining factor on how they do, not just quarterback play, which is the ultimate determining factor, but, defensively, can they be a defense? They're going to give up points. They're going to give up a lot of yards, but can they force field goals? Can they bend, not break? And that's something that I think, has been good to hear about, is just some of the growth on the defensive side of the ball. They're not perfect. They don't have all their bodies, but I think they played last Saturday as well as they have at any point in spring practice, and that's a good thing that they've kind of grown a little bit throughout spring with several of their key players not here or not available.
Austin Price at Austin Priceless on Twitter. AP, tell us all the work that Ben's going to be doing for VolQuest this week. And
maybe we should just have Ben do the highlights of what's going on at VolQuest.
Yeah.
We've got our Tuesday podcast up. A lot of good discussion on there. A lot of good basketball discussion. A little bit of recruiting talk at the end, and then we talk about kind of preview the spring game, if you can preview a spring game, and we'll have a lot of recruiting coverage up. Ben's been working hard, both he and Eric Kane, calling recruits left and right, and getting a hold of some of these kids Tennessee plans on bringing in here officially in the month of June, and/or had on their virtual orange carpet day. A virtual orange carpet day, Swain. I just need this to end, like this, everything virtually.
I know,
unbelievable. I know you're used to watching things virtually, but not me.
We're getting there, man. We're getting there. It's gonna end. It is gonna end. It's gonna end. Oh man. Don't make me pull up your favorites list on your website browser, Austin. All right, AP, man. Good stuff as always.
Sounds good, buddy.
I'll talk to you soon.
See you, Bob.
Oh, man.